Get this chat started. Hello and welcome to Frostside Chat, our weekly live stream post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. I guess I didn't have a funny voice because I've been doing funny voices the last couple times, but
yeah, I thought you were into the goats again, but you didn't go there.
No, I want to do it by session. This time it'll be just the Yeti growling. This is the chat for session 8. If you have not watched that session yet, please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I am your DM, Eric, and joining me, we have Vol Robbins player Chris.
Hello.
Celeste's player Rochelle.
Hello.
Edmund's player Raymond, and Thimbleweed's player this session. A twofer, which was honestly magnificent.
What is your friend's name, Eric?
I don't know. I've been calling him Edmund this whole time. He just wandered into the set. Yeah, that was a really great job, was actually role-playing the two characters as if he was actually there and then kind of bickering with yourself.
That was great.
Was honestly taking it to the next level. Absolutely incredible.
I liked it.
Yes.
I particularly loved, at one point, you said something and then your reaction as Edmund was like frustration and like dismissal.
Yeah.
Like you were annoyed
at what son of a bitch or something. See,
you chose that line of dialogue.
This is why you need to DM, because that's what being a DM is. There are times when I'm just talking to myself and you're just like, you're embodying these different personalities.
So Raymond is DMing the next campaign.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying.
We're at least giving him a one shot with just a room full of characters because I want to fucking hear that play out so badly. But yeah, this one was all about the Yeti cave, which is kind of the big main event of this mountain, which is kind of cool. It's like a mini dungeon within the dungeon almost.
Yeah.
Put you guys back on that map as we're talking about it. So you learn some information from Garrett. And I like the way this is structured about you kind of, and I added a little bit to that where I made it so you learned more pieces of information as you kind of ascended, and you know, you got the journal at the base camp, you learned some from Garrett, and then you got to actually meet the one living member of the adventuring party, which was the halfling, who is currently being played with by a Yeti child, and that Yeti child does have a stat block and it is called Yeti Tyke.
Yeti Tyke? Oh boy!
And it is actually a combatant. It's not nearly a Yeti, but it's got a +2 to attack and deals like 1d4 slashing and cold or something.
All right. So if Frey had just run in there and started swinging,
yeah, it could turn into a fight.
Yeah.
This was an interesting situation because it's not something I could prep too much because a lot of it just landed on the players. This is one of those classic things where I'm presenting a problem, which is, you know, you want to rescue this halfling from this Yeti situation. But it's complicated by the fact that this Yeti has a child. And that immediately turned what Frey was going to do.
Right.
Into more of an intimidation thing, which I thought was a really cool way of handling that. And it was part of...
Could we have just fought all three if we wanted
absolutely.
to? Like, is that... Okay.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, you could have absolutely just gone in there and started swinging. For sure. Could have murdered a whole family of Yetis. I'm not here to pass moral judgment.
You know what? Before
doesn't have kids.
You can tell the player it doesn't have kids.
A lot easier.
There was a movie I watched right before I went on the and it's a movie about Montana, surprisingly. Called Wind River. It's a really great movie. But there's a bit in it where there's a cougar who's out there like killing a dude's like deer. And it's like an aside. And this like hunter who's like he's part of the Park Service. His job is to, like hunt down animals who encroach. He comes upon a den with a bunch of kids, like it's a bunch of baby cougars, and the mother who's just growling at him. I mean, he makes a comment like, "Oh, you know, too bad, you just got your whole family killed."
Oh,
and from a like national park or not national park, but like a civilization point of view, like that's Like there's an animal that is coming out and killing things in civilization. You hunt down its entire family.
Good lord. look, all these stories end with that humanity are probably the bad guys in all of these situations.
Right, yeah,
but at some point, humanity is defending itself
the movie
against
it in a very practical,
against the nature
well,
that it is encroaching upon itself. But yes,
right, yeah, that's for sure.
I would argue the cougars are probably there first, but
yeah.
But they don't have guns, so yeah. And in this case, so what's interesting is you made a comment about, well, are Yetis more bestial? And I looked at that, and they have an intelligence of 8. And there are some player characters who have lower intelligence than that. Like, they are not. I mean,
dumb human.
they're definitely like barbarous, I guess, or whatever. But they have like they speak a language called Yeti. Like they're not beasts, I guess. They're not just. I don't know. It's a hard way to describe it. Like
they're not instinctual.
Yes, they're monstrous, but they think. Yes, they can think tactically. They ambush their prey. They've got family units. It's a whole thing there.
Yeah,
they kind of toe the line. So, which I thought was a really interesting thing to throw at the players is like, okay, they're going to this creepy Yeti cave, but oh shit, it's a family. It's like they've got a child, and how do you deal with that? And I think Frey did everything right, and I was trying to play it by ear in terms of how aggressive are they going to be? Are they going to make any? You could have done the classic, like I talked about this in crafting, like knifed the throat of the child. Like you could have like threatened it.
Oh,
and then that might have been gone either way, depending on what like the roles were or something. Where it's like, does that totally back the mom off, or does she go even more completely berserk ape shit and just go crazy?
I don't know if that would have even occurred. Well, I was gonna say I don't know if that would even occur to Frey, but Heather, because Heather made this comment at some point, like, okay, you're not bumping against my character, you're bumping against me,
the player. Yeah. At some point, which I mean, that's always gonna happen. Like if it's something, especially if you're crossing any kind of like line that the player is gonna be comfortable with, right? Like, look, I'm not gonna role play. Doing this, and there's a little bit of child endangerment here too, which everybody played it right. You're expending resources. The fog cloud was used. You're spending skill checks. If you notice, I still had the Yeti attack her because she was in its face with the baby right there, but I wasn't going to have it be too aggressive.
It seemed like she responded that like appropriately. Like she did, like, yes, I will just take the attack, and I'm still trying to back off. I'm just trying to just diffuse the situation.
Right, and then she disengaged with a very classic, like, okay, we're both pretty powerful, but I'm getting away from this situation now, which, I pictured it kind of like treating a mother bear with her cubs, which is supposed to be a very dangerous situation for you to be involved with, but shouldn't necessarily lead to the thing just outright attacking. So in this case, we got out of it with a little bit of a, I didn't even think it actually got an attack off, like, successfully, so you guys are able to back off. Fun fact, that sheet of ice, if you cross that way, that does lead also to the back of the tunnel, which might give you a chance to, like, surprise things. You'd be behind everybody. In the text, it says that the sheet of ice can be destroyed and then it falls. I was going to treat it more like that wooden walkway, where, like, okay, if a small person crosses, then here's an athletics check or acrobatics check. They'll be, like, grading things about falling into the chasm. What I thought was interesting, though, is if you guys had the forethought, if it ended up being this way, where you could have retreated and lured one of the Yetis across the ice, then the Yeti would have broken it and fallen down into the chasm. But that would have been a certain, like, and you guys never really fought in that area, so. But just a possibility. Obviously, I added the axe completely as not part of the adventure, but I always want to have at least one cool magic item that anybody finds in all these adventures, and I thought finding the Barbarian's Battle Axe would be cool, and B, this gives me a way to create a personal quest arc, kind of sub-quest for Frey, which is, hey, if you want to find out more about this axe and maybe empower it, you got to go to the Goliaths. So I thought that was a cool bit. And then, yes, having Daddy Yeti come back is part of the adventure. That is written in the book, where once they leave the cave, Daddy Yeti comes back, and I could have made it to where he roars and immediately Mom comes back and roar and has this big fight, but I was like, I like the way they diffused.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
I was genuinely a little afraid of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get, like, flanked here.
I thought about it, but I was like, they did such a good job handling the situation in there that I imagine she's just protecting her baby and Daddy can handle things out there. But it was a fun way of, like, oh, we're getting out of this cave now, and I thought and you guys were kind of sitting there, I was like, oh, I gotta actually hit, like, okay, you gotta come out of the cave so I could do this.
No, honestly, it should have occurred to me, because we were keep going, like, okay, we leave.
Yeah, we leave. Yeah,
and you kept going, like, okay, then leave. Like you kept, like, not
go back out.
On.
Yeah. That was awkward for me because I was like, I need to have them leave so I can have the Yeti approach, but they're just picturing me to like montage them out of here. I was like, I can't quite do that. Like if you try to fast travel and the game comes up and says your progress is blocked somehow.
Yeah, that's right. You can't do that right now.
Yeah,
there's a cutscene coming up.
There's a fucking Yeti coming in. But yeah, even one Yeti could be kind of. It was so funny that you guys kept trying to attack its strength stat, which was so high.
Yep.
Which I like the idea of trying to shove it off the edge there. If you had gotten successful doing that, that would have been a pretty effective way of possibly ending that fight, depending on how I ruled that. I'm not even sure how I'd rule it, but he would have probably gone tumbling down. But he's very strong, so it would have been a challenge. He had about 50 hit points, by the way, and you legitimately tore through them. I did not fudge any hit points on that.
Yeah.
And Yetis are cool. They've got that chilling gaze. They can paralyze somebody every single turn and do that multi-attack. Which was pretty effective.
Dangerous, especially if they like focus it down. Fuck you, DM. I used my bardic inspiration on Frey, and then you chose not to target her with the gaze ever.
That's true.
Which was the only reason I did it. Is because
because it helps the save
coming up.
Oh yeah, because it can add to that. That's
true. A saving throw.
That's true. Yeah.
Instead, he turned to me, and he turned to Edmund. Which, granted, we both did things to
exactly. I kind of that's how I treat a lot of these monsters. If they're not like super tactical, it's like, well, who pissed them off like most recent, and who it can lock down. Yeah, that's a fun monster, but you guys, you only had to fight the one, so it wasn't too bad, but we still took Edmund down.
Yetis are scary, though.
Yetis can be scary.
They took somebody down this game. They took somebody down the last time we used them.
They sure did. They've got a pretty good solid amount of hit points and good attacks that certainly add up. Yes, chat, that is a custom magic item. I talked about it in crafting, but I didn't create it yet. I think I made it after the fact. But I want to just add a +1 battle axe, and I looked up I basically looked up spells, like what kind of spells can these runes do.
Yeah, I saw absorb elements was like the
exactly. Absorb elements is one of them, and then dark vision I think is the other.
Oh yeah.
And then it's on charges, and it regains a certain amount of charges every day. And then I thought it'd be cool if part of that quest arc is empowering this axe.
Yeah,
the way to give her kind of a personal quest thing, because I'll just say her secret doesn't necessarily lend itself to creating a personal quest around it like some of you definitely has. So after defeating the Yeti, and this is the point where I was like, all right, this is about where I thought things would end up, where the cave would take a long time for whatever reason, and then we're gonna reach that time, and I was like, fuck, we just have that little bit left at the top, and if I try to end it, which it would find timing to end it at the cave, it was approaching midnight our time. But, we just had that little bit left at the summit, and then what the fuck? Because now, where do you guys go after that? Do you just go down the mountain and just kind of end the session after, an hour or something? Because I don't know where you're going next or all that. So it just really came up against, oh shit, the timing just doesn't work out. So, thankfully, you guys were cool with adding another bit on there, which this is something, and I know chat's been asking about this, that I custom added for sure, because as it is, when you reach this top, you do find the tiefling frozen, and it's just I don't know how much I can talk about without revealing too many of my plans, but I altered some things about this mountain, and one of them is the whole top thing with that whole cutscene is all me. None of that is in the book.
Okay.
All of that was from me. That map is not in the book. You basically just find the tiefling frozen dead, and she just died from exposure. And it's not
she wasn't killed?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super anticlimactic and dumb, frankly. So I added a bit.
And we is the wizard part of the original story?
How much do I say? I'm not going to say anything about the wizard.
Okay.
I can't say anything yet because you haven't resolved. Technically, that's still an ongoing adventure, so I can't say that, but I will just say that's not how things happen at that summit. So it's odd because basically the cave is the climax, and there's that final little epilogue where you find the tiefling at the top who just escaped and just froze to death and died, and that's the whole thing.
Does that mean that the ghost was your concoction as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And
so as far as your idea on it, if we had had tons of time, would that have been a proper battle?
Yes. You know, I had a feeling when I was crafting this, I was like, you know, this is a cool monster. It's from Mordenkainen's, by the way, called a Deathlock White. It's just it's an interesting, like, spell casting wraith, basically. And I was like, there's a good chance we're not gonna have time for this fight. Like, even if I try to bring them up here,
you were like gauging.
Yeah, like I'm up against the time. It's not a big boss. It's only got like 30-some hit points. It does have resistance to non-magical, which I was like, if I count that, then it's gonna take longer. So I was torn. I ultimately did pull the fight trigger. I was hoping, which I ended up flavoring this to your command, but I was hoping one of you would try to talk to it and be like, I'm going to try to address this like this is this person and be like, hey, we found your buddy, like we found your friend, can you talk to us and all that? And then I would have done the same scene, basically.
Yeah.
Instead, you spent a spell.
Just let me have it with
to like to essentially calm it down, which I was like, all right, I'm going to treat that as you basically.
That's fair. Like I made it.
Yeah.
I made it like it, so like it calmed down while it was kneeling.
Exactly. Yeah. So you calmed it down. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a big fight, but I just thought it'd be kind of an interesting thing to do. And basically, I needed a way to say what happened here.
Yeah.
I needed a way to do that storytelling device, and it's like it doesn't make sense for like Dazan to leave a journal behind or something stupid like that. Like how do you know what happened if you just find this body, or you have to find her alive? Basically, I could have changed that, I guess, and had her be like, able to talk about what happened. But I want to make it a little more darker and more interesting, a little more fantasy, where it's like the classic ghostly projection and stuff. Yeah. So I grappled with a lot of what kind of information to give you all, and how do I paint this scene and do all that. And ultimately, I literally put this all together probably like this morning, I think, or maybe last night, I don't remember, but it was very last minute in terms of that final cutscene. I was like, all right, how do I make this like a satisfying ending, basically, where you feel like you've gotten more information, but I'm not ready to immediately like send you in the next area on this ongoing quest chain that you're basically on, which is now following.
Like you let us know like what general direction. I'm not gonna give you the spot. Like, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going with there. Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know. I'd like to hear your feedback on how you thought that whole last area.
I think it worked well. It definitely felt like what you exposition sort of delivery system. I get the sense with that ending that like, okay, here's where you're going to go, but later, not right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I still wanted to have a completion in the sense that you did find the adventuring party. Like you found them, yes. You found what happened, you followed the trail of everything.
We know that the wizard is dealing in the black crystals that we know are bad. So that's kind of the big thing, I guess. Is
yep.
A legit bad guy.
Buys into that. Yep.
Whatever he's doing is dealing in crystals that are, doing bad things to people. So I think as far as like completion to the quest goes, that's kind of probably our end result. Is like we got at some point we're gonna have to deal with this wizard and his armor plated bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a lot of use out of one map pack I bought on Roll20, which was that artist that we like, the Gabriel Picard.
Oh yeah,
yeah. All 3 of the maps I ended up using, which was the base camp, the Crag Cat fight, and the summit, was from his Quick Encounter Snow and Ice pack.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Obviously, the Kelvern's Cairn map that we're looking at now, which included the Yeti Cave, is part of Rime of the Frostmaiden.
Okay.
So all that stuff is there, but as part of the trickiness with this kind of map, I was like, well, there's going to be combat encounters that I need battle maps for. So
it's going to be Crag Castle, it's going to be Owlbear, so we got to there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think hopefully I mentioned that last time. The owlbear is not part of the text either. I added that in there to make it more interesting.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Like just the bear.
Yeah, the encounters as written were basically the Crag Cats in terms of combat encounters, and then the Yeti Cave.
I mean, I don't know about anybody in the other. I did feel like this mountain climb did expend all of our resources. Like, I'm out of spell slots, I'm out of hit dice.
Yeah.
My resources are just fine.
You,
so.
Really? You get yours on a short rest.
Yeah.
As long as we're short resting, she's good to go. Well, you got to show off that radiant bolt a couple times, though. That was pretty effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was handy since I just got that, just now at level 3.
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
I tried to flavor that was doing like full damage to the Wraith, but I was like, honestly, am I even going to worry about the magic resistance on this Wraith? Like, it's going to make it stick around too long.
Right.
It's essentially the same as a Wraith. They can do like the life drain thing and shoot bolts out. It does have some spells, but I was like, I probably shouldn't have pulled the fight in general, but I wanted to make it just a little bit more cinematic and interesting.
Oh, right. And it didn't have much time to eat.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
I didn't even go the full round, I think.
Yeah.
I did love that you picked up on, and we will avenge you. And I was like, I wrote down in my notes, if they say something along the lines of, we will avenge you or get this fucking wizard, then that she will grant somebody inspiration.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't know, like, how else do I reward somebody by doing that?
Yeah.
Like, I guess you could give them, like, a boon or something, but, like, just inspiration's there. It exists.
Yeah.
We'll just do that. I feel like I was giving out inspiration a lot, but God, you guys are so fucking funny and good. Like, I gotta reward that.
People were coming up with stuff tonight. I tell you what.
Oh my gosh. Celeste fucking running in and scooping up the halfling and running out. Or just fucking dying like at the visual. Yeah, just all the other dudes just like sitting there like stunned.
Like the second you introduce the Yeti halfling situation, I was like, that was the first thing that came to mind, because like with the mobile feat, and then I also have the one extra, I can spend a key point to also disengage. So like, mobile feat, if I attack, they can't take an attack of opportunity, or I could spend a key point to disengage. And so I was like, either way, like I can just like run in and get her and like get out.
Yeah.
You got like 4 different options. Right?
Great.
It's a crazy character build. We've never had somebody that had that kind of mobility. It's nuts. Yeah, Chat's mentioning the fact you could just like shuttle people back to town, just running back and forth. Just like a speedster, just carry them on your back. Yeah, I was pretty satisfied with the difficulty and challenge. This was, I will say, one of my favorite locations of the first like kind of area locations you can do, because I thought it was pretty well balanced. I liked the fact that it's basically a dungeon crawl, but kind of linear, where you just have things happen to you. And it's very flavorful. Like a classic mountain climb is definitely part of being in the tundra, like the icy, area.
You definitely get the sense too that like once you're in it, there's kind of like no going back.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like, all right, whatever the next thing is, we just gotta like push ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously I'm just gonna kind of montage you guys back down, because there's no sense going back through all this danger stuff that you've already cleared.
Those goats are gonna fuck with us again on the way
No, those goats got fucking murdered by the Yeti. At least one of them specifically did.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention one of the. Well, you guys never looked at the heads, but one of the heads is supposed to be the dwarf that you guys were back in session 1. So it confirmed the fact that this Yeti was the beast that Frey and Thimbleweed were hunting, and killed that.
I forgot that we didn't actually encounter it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And made it all the way back here, which in the book, you're supposed to have that encounter like north of Bryn Shander, so it makes sense. Whereas here it was south of it, so it's like that Yeti went real far to fucking get that kill.
Like skirted around a town.
And there's goats right there, but he's looking for more food, I guess. Yeah, definitely avoiding town. But that was supposed to be like a fun Easter egg, is the fact that you find like the body, which I don't know if you would even recognize. Like, oh, there's a dwarf head. Maybe that was the dwarf that got murdered. Like,
that's right. We didn't know the dwarf.
Yeah,
yeah.
But in the text, that is as a funny like written Easter egg. It's like, oh yeah, they'll find the dwarf head there.
Nice.
As a trophy.
I do kind of feel bad. We did break up a family slightly. We were murdered dead.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because Frey tried to do her thing again, and I was thinking in the back of my head, I don't even know what I'm going to do if she succeeds here.
Yeah.
Because I kind of let it happen before, because it was the mama protecting the child, but now it's just kind of the
It's one of those things where like I convinced the king to hand over the kingdom. Well, no, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No matter what you roll.
Yeah, so I don't.
They're going to try to kill us.
Yeah, it's tricky too because if a player actually spends their action doing a thing and succeeds, you kind of want to reward them in some way, which is like, okay, Rime or Edmund, whatever, pushed it to the edge. Like, okay, well that's disadvantage, and that's something I can adjudicate because you did do something.
Yeah.
So if she had succeeded, I don't think I would have stopped the fight, but it might have been something like, okay, well it's got disadvantage because it's like shocked that such a small creature can match it like size for size, or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
But probably not.
Because from the Yeti standpoint, maybe we just murdered his family. I mean,
right? I don't know. Yeah, we're walking out of his cave.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because you can't communicate with it exactly. So, but it would have been. I will say it's a different situation if you come out with the child. If you really did like a knife to the throat type thing to get out of the mama situation, and you had the child when the dad is there. That allows you to use the same kind of check against the dad, and then maybe same thing, like it enrages the dad, or maybe he backs off. It mentioned in the text that if they have the child with them, they can convince the Yeti basically to back off.
That's something Celeste's last character would have. That's Celeste would have.
Yeah.
Not something that Fred. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Although Heather's the same player. Like it's
right.
She might have that same code.
Different party.
Yeah, different party. Yeah, you guys are a nicer party, rescuing people and scooping up little halflings and
that's right.
And doing all that. It's pretty impressive. Do you have any clear ideas now, or we can talk about it in the Discord chat later, about where you want to try to go from here and what I need to plan for next time?
It goes back to the homepage, the one with the like quests and the things on it.
Call.
Because I don't remember what our options are.
Yeah, because you effectively completed this quest line.
Mountain climb. That's the one we just finished.
Yeah, that one will be finished. And keep in mind, you can follow rumors and leads. You don't have to necessarily do quests, and a lot of these rumors and leads will lead to quests.
Okay, so Caer Konig, check on Trova's speaker of Caer Konig. I mean, that's right next to where we are. So maybe we just, as part of this whole trek, we head, it's the nearest town anyway.
Yeah, that's where Garrett's from. The scout that you found with the Cragcat fight. He was that's the trail that the other party took. Was they went up the east side of 10 Towns, basically. Hired him in Caer Konig and then went to Kelvin's Cairn from there.
Yeah, so maybe take him home and then check on the speaker. Like, it was who was it? It was a woman who was into him, right? I forget what the situation was.
So back in I think session 2, when you came into that big meeting, the council meeting, they mentioned the fact that like only half the speakers were actually there. And she specifically kind of mentioned Trovis as, one of the speakers that she liked and respected, and mentioned that he was a retired adventurer and just a really good guy, and that she was kind of worried that she hadn't heard from him or basically Caer Konig. And Caer Konig, as you can see, is obviously one of the more remote, separated towns. And she also mentioned just in general, like the smaller, more remote towns are going to be in more trouble, given that with this amount of time that's passed. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good enough guess on my part. I mean, you might want to post some board, but
okay,
I'd say Caer Konig is close, and
that makes sense.
Yeah,
cool. I can do that. Might be some stuff there. No level up yet. I think I'm going to keep you guys at 3 for probably just one more quest or so. So yeah, nothing quite yet, but congratulations on completing the mountain climb quest.
All right.
Any more feedback on this session?
Oh, that was good. I thought it's interesting. Like I gone so to fight all the Yetis. It's always a question, but as it went, I think it timed out pretty good. It worked out pretty well. Yeah.
All right. Well, that will do it for this week's Frostside chat. Thank you so much to Rochelle, Raymond, and Chris. I am Eric, and thank you to all the wonderful fans for watching. We will not see you next week. As a reminder, no D&D next Friday. We will be back on July 9th. Week off.
For the 4th.
Hug your Yeti mamas. Yeah, exactly.